See this? So welcome, welcome, welcome. This is such a joy and such an honor, Claire. It's always beautiful to connect with you. Thank you for being here.
I want to see all the 68 people, but I guess I can't.
You can see a few up the top. Can you see them up there?
No, they're cut off.
Oh,
And I'm
well,
afraid of moving for
You
fear
could
I'll cut
change
off.
your view, Claire. You could change your view up on top, the top right, and do gallery where it says view, way at the top. Um, and if you click
Yeah,
on,
I'm so phobic that I hit something to delete it that I'm just going to imagine all of you are there.
maybe,
Uh,
yeah, okay, can you see the chat, Claire? Because people are putting in the chat where they're
yeah,
from.
yeah, I can see
Queensland,
that.
New York, Indiana. Hello, everyone. Do you want to put where you're from in the chat so Claire can see your names and locations? Brisbane, Philadelphia, Tasmania,
Boston. Yeah, that's great.
New Zealand, Philippines. Hello.
Woo!
Look at that.
This is so cool. Beth Ann, we should do this again.
Yes. Well, this is fabulous. We could do this all the time. This is
Yeah.
it's always so good to chat to you, Claire. And look at all these people who have come to see you. So today is all about this is the end of International Nature Journaling Week, and our our final day theme has been about creating a vision for the future. And so I wanted to talk to you because well, when they say you wrote the book on it, people, this is just a tiny fraction of Claire's books.
Well, I wanted to show you because I told Dan this, da da da. I hold out from underneath my son's bed. This was the very first.
Yeah.
And I have to tell you, folks, before you were born, this is me pregnant doing this book.
Yeah.
My son is now 45. So I kind of fell in love with doing books. So whatever you want, and I showed Beth Ann, here are all the books.
Look at
I
that.
mean, it's kind of, whoops, shoot. What did I do?
You're okay. We can see you and hear you.
I can't. I lost Zoom.
Oh, well, if you go down the bottom, there should be a bar and it will say Zoom. Can you see that?
No.
No?
Oh, there we are. Yeah.
Okay, we can
Okay.
see
Uh,
you. This is your latest one, How to Look at a
yeah.
Bird, which is a beautiful introduction to birding and nature journaling birds. But this is my stack of your books, but this is just a portion of them. You've dedicated your life to making books about this beautiful practice.
Well, you know, I'm, I- it's hard for me to talk about it because it's like breathing. I mean, this is what I did. I mean, my poor husband put up with me doing these, my kids. I did them around my kids. I was a stay-at-home mom because I was writing books. Um, I, I write books to learn stuff.
Mm.
And I was very fortunate. I mean, I could tell you the stories on each book. I would go to a publisher and say, would you like to, do a book on nature nonfiction for kids? And they would go, no, we'll send down the proposal. And then they'd say, yes. Um, so that was this book. Um, and I don't know. Beth Ann, ask me questions. Why? I don't know why I've done 15 books
Well,
other than
let's start.
they're all over the place.
Yeah. Well, yes, you've got a huge range of books. I've got this one which I love. It's a workbook and it's just really accessible for families. But yeah, all over the place, meaning like there's so many different ways and reasons for nature journaling. This one really touched me. This is the one about finding solace. And
Well, that one came out. I mean, I should quickly go back. Why am I doing these books? I am a teacher. I go into schools, I go into classrooms, I go into colleges. I used to go all over the country and teach nature journaling back in the times when schools had money. And I would take the kids outside, and the teachers would say they're going to run all over the place, they're going to go nuts. And I would give them a piece of paper and say, no, we're going to journal. It's like Sherlock Holmes. What are you finding? And the kids got so curious, they didn't want to come back inside. And time after time, kids would say, "Can we skip lunch?" The very sad thing was a teacher who was in, her stockings and her pumps and didn't want to go outside with the kids. The teachers had to go out. They had to participate. They were part of these nature journals. And many of them, I had residencies. And this one teacher said the kids are going to run all over. They're going to want to, jump on the swings. No. At one point, I looked at her and she was sobbing.
Oh, wow.
And I said, "I'm really sorry. I was totally screwed up." She said, "How do you teach joy?"
That's beautiful.
And so that's why I do these books to give people courage. The nature drawing book, the first one, was the comfort for a very close wildlife artist friend of mine in Scotland. And I went home to visit him, and he held it up in front of his classroom. Somebody else found it in a hut in Costa Rica. I think it's because, to be honest with you, I hit a niche
Mm.
and nobody else was doing these books. Jacks are wonderful, but they're little perfectionist. And there's a wonderful Spanish guy who's done a book on drawing birds. Mine are a little scrappy, as Melinda, you were saying, there you can do whatever you want. All I care about is curiosity.
Mm.
And so that, here I was, not so great, at this retirement community yesterday, went out in the pouring rain, sat in the car and went, okay, what can I see from here? 67 degrees, full moon, June 11th. I always do sunrise and sunset. Parking lot, what can we find? I talked about the longest day, and then I did a drawing of the sky, how simple is that in the rain? Um, and then just, thing of pansies in a pot, and then this Cooper's hawk flew by. That's the spark. And I love this concept that's used a lot about the spark bird. And then the drooping peonies. Now, this is a format that I do use.
Can you
I don't
talk
know
us
whether you,
through it, Claire? So
huh? I don't know
date,
whether you can see it.
the date and the
Uh,
time, always the data up the top.
um, this is I'm actually very, very full of construct. Can you see any of it?
Yeah, we can see it. So you've got some
Sort of.
sensory information.
Um, I did this up back in the 90s. And so to be very quick with my nature journal, it's name, date, place, time, sunrise, sunset, length of day, moon phase. And it's so great because this is just, pen on paper, not drawing at all. Get this stuff down. And then a moment of quiet, something special for you today. It could be your birthday. And then we go out in silence, always in silence. And we hear, we see, we smell, and then we draw two ground plants, two waist-high plants, two or three clues to your season, and then draw an animal. Um, and usually what happens is like Sherlock Holmes, they're often running.
Mhm.
Um, I do a lot with phenology,
Mhm.
compare and contrast.
Mhm.
And I haven't changed this format. And then I have another one that I give out to the teachers. What is happening in the world of nature in this during the season? Because seasons to me mean a
Seasonality is
lot. And
important.
I did
Yeah.
this whole book on which I'm about to teach again. Where do animals go in winter? For us, they do cool stuff. I don't know. Those of you around the world, whether you have changes with your animals, but ours change.
Yeah.
So, um,
I,
so what else you?
what I love, Claire, about your work, and we talked about it we talked about it a little bit before, is the accessibility that you can do it in the car, that you can do it from a window, that you can do it, you can have your notebook with you wherever you are, and uh, and you can do a little snippet here or there, and it could just be a note to yourself. It could be a note on something you notice. I love that you said clues to the seasons, like that
Yeah.
mystery, that curiosity, that excitement. But it just can be one little thing here or there from the car, from the window. I think that's makes it really
And
accessible.
also, I have trained myself, and you can train yourself very easily to remember those snippets if you can't immediately draw them. And so here, not great, but I don't care. I was entering the highway, woo, here in Boston, very urban, very urban. And across the entrance to the highway was an osprey. Now, 30 years ago, we didn't have osprey. This osprey flew over and had a fish. And I was like, almost went off the highway. Um, it's just these little teeny things. Now, I do spend hours on pages.
Mm.
I'm doing a four-season page, 2 pages for Northern Woodlands, and these are, seasonal. These take many, many hours. So I do the combination of the quick and the detailed. But, it's an accumulation. People say, well, how do you learn about, butterflies? Well, it's just accumulative.
Mhm.
And it's staying, every naturalist I might think of, whoa, how old is David Attenborough now?
Yeah, he's 98. He's the same age as my grandmother.
She, he is still
Yeah.
curious.
Yeah, curiosity is
Um,
key, isn't it? One, I just wanted to show folks this thing that you do, which is this lovely sort of stacked color.
Colors.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Do you want to talk about that a little bit? I find that really accessible.
Um, I am an artist and I'm not a therapist. Um, I It came about, Beth Ann, because of 9/11.
Mm.
I was so struck by the horror of that that I wanted to ground myself
Mm.
in the universality of the months. And I stood actually at my husband's desk, stood paintbrush in hand and did a meditation of what's the color of January, what's the color of February, what's the color of March. I do it a lot. They can be little. I've sold many of them. They can be big. I have studied color, so I know about color combinations, but to me, it is a mindfulness rhythm, and I can't really explain it other than I still do them.
Mm. Mm. I love
And
that.
they have an exhibition on right now. And that was the one painting that sold. So
Yeah, yeah. I'd love to talk to you about because a lot of the conversations in the Nature Journal community are about how this practice helps us fall in love. And I've had this experience myself hundreds and hundreds of times that when you spend time, and John Muir calls this paying sustained, compassionate attention. And when we do that, when we pay sustained, compassionate attention, there's a connection that grows, and it's such a powerful feeling. And I have one painting that I created where I was following a nasturtium flower, and it was one flower that was still growing, and it was a bud, and then it was half open, and then it was changing, and then the colors were fading, and then it was dying. And by the end of that process, Claire, I was absolutely wildly in love with this one shriveled brown nasturtium flower.
yeah,
And I would love
yeah.
to hear you explain that process and how it's affected you in your life and how you've seen it in others, this falling in love that happens.
Well, in preparation for this talk, I have to admit to you, I don't like drawing flowers.
Yeah, I know you. Well, you're an animal person. We've had this conversation
I,
before because for
I
me,
know.
it's all about
I just,
botanicals, but
it's
for you,
like,
it's
how am
animals.
I going to talk to everybody? Because everybody's got these wonderful drawings of flowers. And I, I don't want to malign them because I have done a lot of paintings of flowers. To me, my magic is birds.
Yeah.
I mean, we had this winter out on our balcony here, this very feisty robin. And apparently, Karina, we get your Canadian robins in the wintertime. And I had put some winterberry out on the porch, and this fat robin ate all of the winterberry. And then he came back. I had some plastic brown red roots, and he started pecking at them and went, "Bleh."
That's not it.
Um, I don't know. I just find birds humorous. I find, them uh they are part of my life, and they bring me the joy. That osprey brought me the joy. The Cooper's hawk yesterday. Um they and that's why I wrote that book, how to, look at a bird. They breathe our air.
Mm.
They drink our water. They are a part of us. And this is what I'm trying to teach is we share the land. I know the fires in Canada are just absolutely devastating. Um, I want people, and I've worked with Jane Goodall, and I'm not sliding into politics, but once you learn about something, you care about it and you take responsibility for it. And my concern is that because people don't pay attention, don't care, they don't know those birds are there, those plants are there. So I don't speak of politics. I just speak of caring.
Mm.
And when you draw something, you care about it.
Mm.
You just, you're connected with it. Um, Actually, I had a beautiful, beautiful redstart crash into a neighbor's window, and I drew it. And then I put it aside to show all of you, and eh, it didn't do well. But let me see if I can. Oh, here. This was such a requiem.
Oh yeah.
Oh, this absolutely. Do you know the American Redstart? Do any of you know the American Redstart?
Maybe
Um,
maybe you can write in the chat if you've had some experiences with this
well,
bird.
the fact, how far had it flown? That its wings, the underside of its wings, I never had seen. This beautiful, beautiful apricot color. It was in stunning
Mm.
spring plumage. And these birds are all around us. And they fly through the nights. They hit our windows. The cats get them. It's what I love about a big part of this movement is we're trying to do some rewilding.
Mhm.
I don't know how many of you are involved with rewilding. We are stemming the tide. We're trying, and I think this is the difference I've seen when I was back in when was I did the first nature drawing book was 1978. I didn't think about that then.
Before I was born, Claire.
I know this is ah, and don't forget, I did a whole book on the Celtic festivals
Oh,
and the
wow.
Celts of Northern Europe because I'm very interested in their connection to Earth. Um, this was a wee one that actually Houghton Mifflin asked me to do. I just, little black and white book before people could do color on me and my family in Vermont. Um, and then it was redone by another publishing company, because they love this stuff. I don't, I can't say. And then the Curious Nature Guide. I don't know why these books have done well, to be perfectly honest with you. I couldn't publish a book today. It's just gotten too massive.
What do you mean too massive? The industry?
Yeah, it's
Mm.
gotten very complicated.
Mm, okay.
No, I mean, no kidding. I would this one was done.
That's a recent one, isn't
Okay,
it?
and I'm just gonna say it was in response to the first election of Donald Trump. I decided to write a book about, the seasons to
Yeah.
distract people.
Yeah.
And it they've all done really well.
Mm.
Partly because I have wonderful publishers, fantastic editors, and they promote. But the message, I mean, all of you just do what you're doing. It's so important.
Mm. Mm. I would love to hear you speak about because um, I feel for myself, and I've heard others speak about this too, that nature journaling helps you find your place in the world. And if it's your backyard, if it's your local green space or park, you can, and I feel this really strongly that this is a lifetime commitment to one place. And for me, it's my backyard. For you, I know you've made a decades-long connection with Mount Auburn Cemetery, and I'd love to hear you speak about making that heart connection with a place and then that relationship over decades and seeing the changes and feeling the connection over decades through this practice. I'd love to hear you speak about that.
Well, part of it is when we were in Vermont, we were too busy, you know, too busy gardening, keeping the house up with the kids and so on. I didn't much have a chance to journal there. And then here in Cambridge, it was work, and it's a small apartment. Mount Auburn is a sanctuary. When I go there, I'm there to journal. And so maybe it's pages that are important. Maybe they're pages that are not important. It is a sacred place. Um, Here is actually, this is a year ago, me going to Mount Auburn. Um, it's not much. It's just wandering around, not thinking about people, but looking at leaves expanding. Um, the oriole was still there. There was a bunny eating. There was a house wren. It was um, focusing out on other than the day, me. So smells, roses, green grass, mock orange. Here, red-eyed vireo, robin, chipping sparrow, starling, massive tree trimming, always a robin somewhere, ant carrying something dead, chippers about. It's just kind of like a page, a mosaic of what I saw. Bunnies about hawks delight because the hawks get the bunnies. And then there was a hawk, lots of ground workers. Um, it was I don't know if I'm making any sense at all. It was being in a place that was nature,
Mm.
that didn't have people. And I think this was the thing in contrast, having just done this trip, it was all about people. It was all about buildings. It was all about history. I saw one oyster catcher in Norway, and it was like ecstatic. So, um, the Mount Auburn Cemetery, I've done a lot of teaching at. My kids learn to walk there. My grandkids go there. Yeah, it's a sanctuary. And then when my husband was very ill, it was one of the last places he could walk.
Mm. Mm.
Um, So, I mean, parts of the summer gets pretty dull there because it's just green, green, green. I love it in the off seasons of fall and spring, and winter. It's a lot of trees drawing. I don't know if that makes any sense.
Yeah,
It's nearby.
Claire, I love that you talked about like focusing outward because especially I don't know if this is coincidence, but I find that a lot of people in the nature journal community are very sensitive people, very heartfelt and heart-led sensitive people. And for sensitive people, we can sort of ruminate too much, we can go inward too much, but going outward, that kind of putting our experience out in the world and paying attention to the little things that are happening. And you mentioned an ant, and it reminded me just yesterday I was out on the lawn and I was just sitting there on the grass, just sort of taking it in. And this ant had something. It was a seed maybe, but it was double the size of the ant itself, doing, battling through the grass. And I thought to
Yeah.
myself, this little ant doesn't care about all the
Right,
dramas. It doesn't care about
right,
anything. It cares about this seed and getting this seed back to its nest. And
right,
all these little things are happening all the time through the dramas, through COVID, through
right.
politics,
That's
through
right.
wars.
That's right.
The
That's
ants
right.
are doing their thing, the birds are doing their thing. And
Right.
for us as
Right.
sensitive, like caring people to be able to focus on that and reground in that is really
Right.
important. I love what you said about just focusing, just watching the stories for a little while is
Right.
very therapeutic.
Right. Well, there's stories of people during World War II who listened to birdsong. Um, and it was one of the ways I've gone through this deep grief of losing my husband
Mm.
is just listening to the birds, taking walks and seeing, seeing the snowdrops, seeing the crocuses, seeing the emergences. And I get this sort of grateful living, wonderful passages that no matter what, we can't stop the sunrises and the sunsets.
Yeah.
Everything goes on. And I find that very comforting.
Mm.
The robins are outside right now chortling. Do they know I'm talking to you?
Yeah.
No, they're chortling because they're chortling to each other.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
and the moon phases I
Yeah.
find very consoling. When my husband died, I took care of him at home. The night he died, I looked out the window and the moon happened to be in a cup cradle form as it was setting. And I just felt he's taken care of. That's okay. Um, and it's hard often not to get distracted by all this other stuff that's going on. I too am struggling with it. And some days are better than others. But, we have bunnies here in Cambridge hopping all over the place.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
and I find them hysterical because they're just doing their thing.
Mm-mm. One thing that I love that you do, which is in itself a form of gratitude practice, which is your daily exceptional images. And I'd love for you to talk about daily exceptional images and how that brings gratitude and satisfaction to your practice.
Well, Beth Ann, I can't call them that anymore because they're also called DEI.
Okay. Can't.
I also want you to see, because I am an academic, my wall of books. I have this extensive, and what I love because of our apartment, um, this is our where we eat. That's the kitchen. That's the wall. This is where I write my books, and this is where I do my correspondence, and that's where the family is. Um, So it's very, very compact. And I have to appreciate the many, many years of writers who I have learned a lot from. And I also have to appreciate, and I think many of you know, Eric Enyon, I first studied with in 1976, taught me how to draw. I mean, the whole nature drawing book is based on Eric Enyon. John Busby became a personal friend. He and his wife came here a lot. I learned how to draw birds loosely and went over to Scotland many, many years with him and have friends as a result of John Busby. And then this was back in the days when you could, write somebody and say, what do I do? What do I do? I can't, find anybody to study with. Roger Kirk Peterson didn't teach, Robert Bateman didn't teach. And so these three guys, Gunnar Brusewitz in Sweden being one of them, said, come on over and stay with me and I'll teach you for free. You can't do that anymore. I owe so much to them. And the nature journaling concept came, I think, from Gunnar Brusewitz, this wonderful Swede who wrote and drew. Um, And so, what was your question? Oh, DEI.
About the daily
Um,
images and
yeah,
how
well,
that brings joy to you out of a practice of gratitude.
um, I've had to change it. My editors used it a lot. I mean, I would text friends, what's your DEI? My editors would send me their DEIs. Can't use that. Um, what did they use? I can't remember the words they use, but I the word I love now is the spark.
Mm.
What is your spark?
That's a word that Melinda Nakagawa takes and uses a lot because spark in nature is her platform, and spark finding sparks is
Yeah,
important.
yeah, yeah. And um my point, and I don't know how much of it is Jack's, and I like Jack a lot. To me, the essence of what I'm doing is finding the spark in the ordinary.
Mm.
But the cloud. I mean, I'm going out to teach this assisted living people on Thursday. They can't go off to Kilimanjaro. I mean, maybe they have, but I want to give them a spark that's right around their retirement community.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah. Accessible. To make awe and wonder accessible
Yeah.
is your job.
Yeah. Yeah. I had a situation today. I my GPS wasn't working, and so I got totally lost. I stopped at a gas station. The guy didn't speak English, trying to t tell me where to go. I went around and around in circles, and the whole time I was in this awful mess of trying to find this place. I was looking for birds. Just
I love that.
give me that spark. Oh gosh. Um, so yeah, and the other thing that's so wonderful about it is it's free.
Mm.
I should show you. This is, folks. Um, we have time. This is my studio outside.
Oh, fantastic. What have you got in there, Claire? Tell us.
Well, this is at least 20 years old.
Oh,
Um,
what's in my bag?
I
Claire Walker list.
I have I always have, the current journal. I absolutely believe in having the Farmer's Almanac,
Okay.
which, gives me my sunrises and sunsets.
Okay.
Um, a hat, and people make fun of me, but I love this book. It's the bird book I carry with me. I don't carry a book to wildflowers. I don't carry a book to ferns or, trees or whatever, but I do birds. And I find this one, it's pretty tattered, but it's useful. And then, haha, I don't know what I'm going to do. I think I showed you this before. I don't know what I can do when this falls apart. This is my magic box. I do not use watercolors in the same way that Jack does. I don't like those little brushes. You squirt water into them. I use colored pencils in the field because, they're dry, they're accessible, and you don't have to carry water.
How
So
do you know
in
which
one,
colors to take out? Do you just have some standard greens, some standard colors? How do you know? Because I've got a packet of 150 and I wouldn't know
I know.
which to take with me. How do you choose what you colors you put in what?
Well, interestingly enough, when I go on a trip, I carry maybe 20 that I think would be useful.
Mhm.
Like I figured Norway, I wouldn't take pink. I figured I would do a lot of indigo.
Mhm.
I would take a lot of brown. But I have in here probably, I mean, it takes a lot. And these are the Prismacolors, which I use a lot. They're soft.
Mm.
I do not use the watercolor colored pencils. I know a lot of people ask about those, but I don't like the colors. But I maybe have like 50. And the wonderful thing about these, if you lose them, which I do, between the cracks, I could go out and get another one. Uh, I mean, that's the thing I learned from John Busby. If you're sitting on the cliffs and the gannets are flying over, your paints could roll off the edge. I've had, the gannets fly over and splat all over my paintings. You gotta have stuff that's not precious. And then in this other part, I have, these are the pens that I use. They're the Pilot
Is it
Razor Points.
waterproof fine liner or just a regular?
No, they're not waterproof. I want to make sure that the pen doesn't bleed through to the other side of the paper. And I do use the waterproof ones, but they tend to fade and turn brown, the
Mhm.
microns. So if I'm doing something that needs to have watercolor added, I will use those. Or a kid one day showed me a ballpoint pen.
Yep. Yep.
I love ballpoint pens. And then, of course, pencil eraser. And then I do have a retractable um, leaded pencil. The point being that you don't want to be wanting to draw a bird when your lead is broken. So
Mhm.
you want to have something that is very, very accessible. And that means those, you know, dime store, I don't seem to have it, retractable leads. But you can see I have a lot of these. Um, and woo, and this sits in the front of my car.
Yeah. Yeah. So it's
This is
there whenever
this
you.
is so accessible. Um, and then of course I have um very good paints. I have Winsor Newtons that if I'm doing a painting and I've had all these exhibitions, I will do something better. But oh, the paints that how are we doing with time?
We've got about 22 minutes.
Because I want people to ask questions.
Yeah.
Um, the paints, haha.
So, friends, while Claire is looking for her paints, if you have questions for Claire, pop them in the chat and we can have a discussion.
I mean, uh, uh, John Busby, well, all of these Europeans say Americans spend too much time on equipment and get all freaked out about having the right brush and all that stuff. Um, so yeah, I do use the microns.
When you, say you were sitting in the car and you saw a bird that you wanted to sketch, what's the first thing you reach for? Do you reach for your pencil or your pen? What are you grabbing from that kit?
The brakes. Um, I've got a very good visual memory, so I don't stop. Um, I, may not draw it until later. Um, Actually, this Kestrel, I did very, very quickly. It was on her shoulder, just a sketch, and then today, from memory, worked it up. So a lot of times you can't pull over. Um, And so I do heavily rely on my field guide to help me. Now this is I don't know whether you can see this, but it's the Prang.
Hmm.
The Prang Prismacolors. I don't know if any of you use these. I think Jack was like, huh? I love them because they're kids, they're opaque, they're really good colors. You've got 16 of them. Yeah, let's see if I can do this
So
without propping it
they're
up.
really accessible.
16 of them. I love, I love, love, love the colors. Um, and so this I can take in my bag.
Claire, there's a
Um,
question about how often you work from photos or how do you work from photos?
with birds, I always do.
Mm.
And I have this is the one that I use. I start I start with my field sketch. And then it's very important to check on particular features. So, I mean, even this, much as it was, sketches, I did refer to a field guide just to make sure that with the house finches, I had the red in the
Oh,
right place and
yeah.
the chickadee. But having worked with John Busby, and do you have any of his
I
books?
do. I've got a bird one, and I can't remember off the top of my head. It's about seeing a bird, or I can't remember
Yeah,
the name. Yeah, but
yeah.
his style is again really accessible.
Well, he had drawn birds for, 70 years.
There's a
And
question, that's a question specifically on this actually. What are a few inspirational ideas that you and John Busby exchanged about drawing birds?
he was almost a father figure
Mm,
and incredibly supportive, incredibly supportive.
mm,
He was deeply spiritual. He saw birds as a spiritual part of the world. And I would watch him paint. This is out of Edinburgh. And it was like he would go into almost this trance
mm,
of connection with birds. But you know what? I'm so cautious about saying this and take it with a grain of salt. Um, that was back in the 90s. Things have changed,
mm,
these have just changed. Um, back in 1980, when was that, 79? 82. I wrote him a letter and said, I don't have anybody to study with, and what should I do? He said, come on over. And I lived with them, leaving a 3-year-old son at home. Now you couldn't do that today. I owe so much to Eric Enyon. I mean, that the art of field sketching. I think you know that one.
mm.
Um, yeah, did I not bring it out? Well, I did. Oh yeah, nope, it's buried. The art of field sketching is based on what I learned from John Busby. Nature drawing book is all Eric Enyon. It's just Eric Enyon every chapter. Um, and then Gunnar Bruzovitz is probably, this one. Um, I have a lot of humility because I studied with pretty amazing people who were so kind. I mean, I was a young mother. What was I doing? Wandering off, leaving my kids at home. Well, they're wonderful kids and I had a great husband, but um yeah, I look at these books and I go, where did these all come from?
That must be an amazing thing to look back at that and have all those memories of all those nature experiences, all those connections with others.
Yeah,
There's a question
yeah.
in the chat about reflecting on finding your spark again if life has taken you away from journaling. How do you come back? Have you ever had that experience where you kind of lost it for a moment, and how did you come back?
Um, that's a wonderful question. And I'm having it a little bit right now, having done this people,
Mm,
big 900 people cruise thing. I'm trying desperately to find it. Um, for me, it's just getting out and watching. Just going out. Um, also for me, it's getting to the coast, getting to water, just being with water. Um, I, I'm having trouble answering that question myself
mm.
right now because
I think it's revisiting what you talked about, which is the curiosity, like, and the stories, those little things that are happening all around us all the time. And when we deliberately drop into that curiosity and deliberately pay attention to the ants and the birds for me, it's plants, but for you, I know it's animals. Um,
that's okay.
yeah, just that deliberate reconnection with curiosity maybe, and it can be lovely actually, and I do this myself. If I was to answer this question, it is often taking Claire's books off the shelf and just flicking through them, and you can do that and find inspiration in the pages of others and think, oh, actually that's how Claire documents the seasons where she is. How could I do that in my
I
place?
think I think you're right. I think this one probably I should go back and reread it because I think this one could be a great help.
Mm,
Um, I mean, here I'm just I'm just drawing rabbits, and having laughing at these silly rabbits and chipmunks.
The anti.
Um, but I do weave. Um, oh, here is that
Yeah.
continuation, only it's in colored pencil. These months do carry on sliding along with the turning of earth by sun. This very turning affects us all, despite what we do to the earth, air, fire, water, and all of our wild neighbors.
Mm.
Um, and I think, I decided to do every month as sort of a color,
Mm.
each individual month a color panel. Um, but I'm struggling with that, you know, for many reasons. I mean, right now I have a lot of sadness about losing my husband.
Mm.
And what helps me is also really focusing on the seasons. The seasons are, the months are changing. And the curiosity that comes with every day is different.
Mm. 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 There's always something.
And for
There's always something to be amazed about.
Yeah, and you see, you're in the southern hemisphere. Our sun is so high in the north now. I was up in Norway where it barely set.
Mm-mm.
So the curiosity of this planet
Yeah, yeah,
is
it's
important.
endless, isn't it? Once you get that bug, once you get that ability to be amazed,
Yeah,
you can be
yeah.
amazed for the rest of your life.
Yeah, and I find phases of the moon. I mean, I just every month I'm in awe at the new moon and the full moon. And when you don't know the moon is there, the moon is there. Um, I
Yeah.
find that a big, big comfort. So it's lots of things,
Mm.
It's you can see all of a sudden, there's a moth. I mean, I know we have fewer insects.
Mm.
Don't pay attention to that. Look at the insects that are there. Um, so
Claire, there's a question about your exhibitions because you talked about having an exhibition, and the question is, how do you exhibit your work? Do you, because a lot of your work is in a journal. Do you
no,
redraw
no, it's not.
do you redraw things formally for an exhibition, or tell us about how you go about
No, I have many paintings around. Let's walk around here.
it?
I don't know whether you can see.
Yeah,
That's a painting.
wow. An oceanscape.
That's a silkscreen print. Um, that's
People
a
are loving
painting.
seeing your work at home.
That's a silkscreen print. Um, I'm gonna walk around our house. There we go. These are a whole series of landscape water paintings I did. So no, I am actually a professional watercolorist. I do paintings on paper
Mm.
and frame them, and I have piles and piles up there of unframed paintings. And framing is very expensive.
Yes, it is.
So what I've been doing is getting inexpensive frames from Michael's. And I had an exhibition at a coffee shop here last fall, 20 of my paintings, sold seven because they were affordable, like $190, $150. And all that money went to Doctors Without Borders.
Oh, fantastic.
Um, I had a home sale of my paintings. Lots and lots of people came, and that all went to Save the Children. And I have currently an exhibition of my paintings up at our local bank. Um,
Your
because
community's very
they
lucky to
cheer
have
people
this.
up,
Yeah.
huh?
Your community's very lucky to have this accessible. Like, I'm sure everyone here would love to be able to wander around with your paintings.
Well, they're watercolors, so they take me an hour and a half to do, and I want people to be able to afford them, and they're uplifting. They make people feel good. All these landscapes and birds and stuff. Um, yeah, I've had many exhibitions.
Mm.
Yeah, yeah,
Mm.
yeah.
There's a question about you had mentioned writing a book about grief, and there's a question about the progress of that and your connection with that project.
Oh dear, it's only been a year. It's Mount Mormon Cemetery, the folks there who I adore, but they're so busy
Mm.
that, we were supposed to get together in June. It's done. It's done. And it's written and illustrated by me, and it is for people who aren't interested in nature, but I take them through the walking comfort through the seasons, what they can just, walk about and see, whether it's phases of the moon or squirrels. Um, I'm not a priest, I'm not a therapist. I'm just offering them comfort through robins. But it's dependent upon them to get it to the designer, to get back to me. And so I'll let you.
It's in the
I'll let
work.
you- But I think in the meantime, I think this is probably a big comfort
Yes,
book.
I love this book.
Um,
It's really, really
because
meaningful for when you're going through something, and just the way that Claire finds solace in nature and that you can too. I think that's a wonderful recommendation.
Yeah, but it's a lot of different things. I mean, this I taught out at a very rural school on the Yukon River in Alaska, and I had to go with one of these little bush planes, and I was so freaked out
Oh,
that I spent the whole time drawing the land below. And it was so here, this is a meditation comfort.
yeah.
I got so entranced with, what was below me, this incredible wide open Alaska landscape. I forgot about the flight. So it's how do we find comfort in hard places?
Mm. Mm-mm. Going back to your practice, there's a question about your equipment and whether you use your micron pen directly on the page or if you do a pencil sketch first.
Oh, these are great questions. Everybody is so individual, and I just have to preface this by, typical Eric Enion, who was 80 at the time when I was with him in 1976, he had this brush that was very flat on the end. And I said, "Oh, Eric, do you like flat-ended paintbrushes?" He said, "Not particularly, just happened to be my grandfather's paintbrush."
Yeah, yeah.
It was all worn down. Um, so it depends on what I'm doing. These pages for publicity, these went into a magazine. This was all done first in pencil
Mm.
because of the design, to make sure of the layout. And then I went back and used the micron. But my tendency is to, bush it. Like this was pen. I mean, I'm pretty good at doing birds. Um, and also when I am with kids or anybody at any age, I'm doing a lot of workshops now. I have them just use pencil,
Mm.
even though I use pen. And interestingly enough, I mean, I get asked to teach at weird places. Um, I've been asked to teach at Boston University's microbiology lab. They're having a week's conference. Now, these are people who do nothing but, put on earplugs and look through their computer screen. And then they come over and do nature journaling.
Yeah.
And it was her idea. She came across my book. She loves the idea. I said, "Well, can we look out the window?" We're
Yeah.
going to look out the window.
That's
But
fantastic
there
to be able
are clouds out.
to teach to all different kinds of groups. You
Yeah.
said that you did a recent workshop for Black Birders Week, which is a fantastic
No,
event.
I
Oh,
participated.
you participated. Sorry, my apologies.
No, 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 but it was totally cool
Mm,
to participate
mm, mm.
because yeah, they knew a lot. It was fun. It was all ages.
Yeah. Yeah. having this practice spread through all different communities. You talked about assisted living, and yeah, I think that's it. And you've done it with all age groups uh
Yeah, yeah.
across.
Yeah, I mean, if you look at my website is how I do stuff. If you want to know who I am, look at my website. Um, Back when I was younger, and people had money. I mean, the big thing is money. I have taught in 29 states and also up in Toronto.
Mm.
Um, and it's just been colleges, it's been nature centers. I'm doing something for the Maine Naturalist Program in July up in Maine. These are totally cool people. I'm doing something for a bird conservation organization. I mean, that's the thing, Beth Ann, that's so wonderful about the Nature Journal. It is so versatile.
Yes.
There's no niche.
Yes. I love that. I love that. So you can make it what you want it to be. It can be a scientific document. It can be a record of joy. It can be exploration with your children or grandchildren. It can be all of those things.
Yeah, yeah. And this one with this bio lab, she got it. I said, can we just sort of like stop what we're doing at the lab and stand and look at the window and draw clouds? And there's a nesting peregrine there.
Mm.
And just look out. And you've been in touch with Terrence?
We Tehran, yeah, yeah, yeah.
Terrence.
Yeah. I don't
He is, for all of you who don't know who this kid is, he's black. He's getting a master's at Mass College of Art in nature journaling.
did an amazing, amazing project putting nature journaling out there in the community.
For him, it is a total passion. I don't know what he's doing with it. I don't know where he's taking it. I mean, we talked a lot about, what sort of work is going to pay you. But this is the thing, Beth Ann, about what you're doing, and your nature journaling week is so, so fabulous. Is you're hitching on to people who want to connect and encourage you. I mean, the network is growing. And I'd love to know more about who you're connecting with because I think it's spreading. I mean, I do have my first connection to all of this. All of you should find Diary of an Edwardian Lady.
Hmm.
Do you
Hmm.
know that book by Edith
Yes,
Holden?
yes. It's a classic.
That was the very first. Maybe that went before, Gunnar Bruzovitz. That was the very first. And then there is Muriel Foster's Fishing Diary. And then, there is, of course, Queen Victoria, King Charles. They
It,
all do this.
yeah, yeah. Yeah, I mean it's a practice that's been around for centuries and it is growing. I believe that it's more and more people are connecting with this as, as we need solace, especially as things get more and more and more technology focused, we need the
Yes,
ability to step back and to
yes,
reconnect with what's real and what's out there
yes,
in the real
yes.
world.
And I absolutely, all of you who have children and grandchildren, I have a 13-year-old and a 10-year-old granddaughters, and they are so, so techie, techie, techie. But I get them into Mount Auburn Cemetery. They love it. They go, they find the great blue heron, they find the turtles. This, there is that, and I know I've had this conversation with people. What is the isness? And I know I tried to write this in my books. What is the isness that causes us to love that?
Mm. Mm.
I don't. Do you have an answer?
What is it? Well, for me, the reason that I do this is that it brings me back to joy and it brings me back to connection. It's a sense of oneness, and I'm just one little piece of that story, and that makes me feel good. And so that's why I return to it.
Yeah. Well, Rachel Carson's book, A Sense of Wonder.
Mm, yes.
Um,
The lovely meditation if you want to.
yeah. And I guess one of the things that makes me sad, and should I say this or not? Back in the 70s, when I started doing this, I helped to start an environmental school with my boyfriend, and we were all euphoric, touch the earth. We can, our first Earth Day, and we can save the planet, blah, blah, blah. We were hopeful.
Mm. Mm.
We were euphoric. All of this stuff had glitter to it. Steve Van Mater, and your responsibility, all of you, is to keep that joy upward and foremost
Mm.
because it is being challenged.
Mm. Yeah,
Now,
yeah.
maybe not in all of your countries, but
Yeah, there's a lot going on and we decided not to go into that. But yeah, there's a lot going on and a lot that we need to do to go forward to protect the nature that we all love. And
yeah.
our the way that we fortify and strengthen ourselves, I think, is to stay in that joy and to stay in that love and to remember we're falling in love with nature and you protect the things that you love. And so maybe that's where we can end our conversation is on that hopeful note of stay with it, stay with the joy, stay with the connection,
Also with community. I mean, I think
community.
that's what's
Yeah.
so great about your week. Find community.
Mm,
All of my friends speak my language.
mm, yeah. Yeah. Stay.
Find people who go, I get that that ant was carrying something. Be, be with people who hear you.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, Claire, thank you so much. Everyone has loved being with you today. There's been almost 100 people here with us. People from
Wow.
Japan, Australia, Brazil, Canada, USA, all over. And uh, it's
Why
been
can't I find you? I need to see you.
okay. Hang on a second. I'm gonna see. Hmm. Maybe Melinda.
Is
If
the
you
lovely lady from Japan here?
Beth, and if you unspotlight, then she might be able to see everybody.
I think Erico is here, but I could be
Is
wrong.
Erica?
I did see Erico.
Now I've Okay, Claire, can you see everyone now?
No, I can see you.
Oh, no. Okay. Go up to the top right corner. It says view. Click on that and go to gallery
Oh,
view. Claire wants to see
and
you
then
all.
go to gallery?
Yep, gallery. You'll see everybody.
Woo!
Maybe we can
Holy,
all give Claire a wave and a thank you.
Yeah, turn on your videos.
Claire, can you
holy
see
canoe.
can you see everyone?
Oh, well, let's see. How do I scroll down? I want to scroll down. Or maybe I don't. Do I go over to
Can you see a whole
that?
bunch of smiling faces?
I want to know where you're all from. Oh, blah, blah, blah.
Well,
Um,
Claire said that she's not a technology lover, but she is an email lover. So maybe if you have
yes.
a question that I missed or something to say to Claire in gratitude, you can send her an email.
Do you all have my website?
Yes, I
Uh,
Melinda
put
put it in, yeah, Melinda put it in the chat.
you
okay.
can put that
Um,
again.
where the well, are you mostly females? Are there any males? That's okay. I favor females anyway. Full screen? Do I do full screen?
Can you
You
see,
should be view gallery in the
I did
Zoom.
get gallery, but it's all
what can you see, Claire?
I can see maybe 30 people.
Okay. Well, let
Yep.
those 30 people that Claire can see, give her a big wave because we're going to say goodbye. But thank you so much for being here. It has been
Beth
amazing.
Ann, let's definitely be in touch. I mean, you and I could Zoom again.
Yes, we will. We absolutely will.
Maybe I'll come to Australia.
Please
Very
do. Please do. When you do, I'll take you on a big adventure.
My daughter and husband were just there because he's from New Zealand. And of course he went to the tennis open. Um, yeah. Okay, well I'm not doing these cruise things again.
Yeah,
I'm going to be with people.
yeah, yeah. Well, yeah,
Yeah, if I came, we would journal together.
we will. We absolutely will, Claire. It's been beautiful, beautiful to spend this time with you. Thank you everyone for being part of International Nature Journaling Week and for being here with Claire today. Take
Well, I
care,
hope it
everyone.
was useful in some sort.
Absolutely. People love to see your little nook and where you work and your home and your nature. Thank you, Claire.
Well,
Thank
I'm surrounded by nature, so fortunately. Thank you, Beth Ann, for doing this, and let's stay in touch. And thank you, all of you, for putting up with this kind of odd conversation.
It's been a joy. Take care, Claire. Take care,
Go
everyone.
buy my books, and then you'll know what we're talking about.
Absolutely.
Okay. Yeah.
Bye now.
Bye-bye.
Bye.